it's what personality traits do you need to have in order to be a successful entrepreneur, and do you think these traits are inherited or developed?
The biggest personality trait that I believe makes you successful is how you work with people. The capability to identify the best people around you, whether it's the investors or advisors or people that support you, building that culture within the organization where everyone can trust each other and everyone can actually have the others back and work as a strong team. That is really the biggest hallmark for a leader, to be able to drive that type of an organization and a culture for the whole team to succeed. That's the trait that I believe in as the first and the foremost for an entrepreneur to succeed. It is a trait that is really inherited to a degree, but then built. And for me, it was built very early on in my very first career position, which taught me the humility and the modesty of toning down your own achievements and really looking at your achievements as a part of a group or of a team, and really looking at what you have achieved together versus really only focusing on what you have achieved personally. As a young engineer, that was the first lesson I learned in my first job, and that's really shaped that personality trait of really building the people around you and really surrounding yourself with the best people so that you can be successful.
Great, thank you. Andreas?
I think optimism is extremely important. You have to be very, very optimistic to when you start something new. Starting a company is one of the hardest endeavors one can do. It's going out on an adventure. The chances of failure are much greater than the chances of success. And there is many sort of near-death experiences one will face and many sort of extinction events. So I think optimism is extremely important. You also have to have the ability to convey that optimism to others somehow. Married with that, I think, is passion, enthusiasm, right? Passion expressing itself as enthusiasm. Nothing, I think, can ever be built without that. And then the corollary is like extreme resilience that I think you develop over time as you go through battle. Is optimism inherited? I think that, you know, the early years of someone are really critical on how, you know, someone develops or not optimism. And then, you know, it's part of your value system as well. You know, are you tapping onto your emotions to really find the passion, the thing that really moves you, right? And that motivates you to actually go out and do something. And then everything sort of rolls out of that. I think resilience is something that you learn, you know, growing up. You know, that it's okay, and there's always paths that you can find in order to, you know, keep on going and survive. I think this is probably the most taught of the three.
Great answer. Yeah, there's no cognitive advantage to being a pessimist. You know, the pessimist just lives every failure twice. Matt?
Sure, I'll be redundant, likely. So humility, I think, is incredibly important. Resilience, I like to categorize that as grit. I think being gritty is a hallmark of being an entrepreneur. Resilience is, you know, obviously redundant as well. But, you know, I think your secondary question was around, are these things innate or learned or, you know, to that effect. So we talk internally about, are we who we are as individuals and as a company, or are we who we want to be? And I think the answer to that is yes. It's both. You are who you are based on environmental factors, how you grow up, all of those things, but you also have the choice to be who you want to be, and make changes and be optimistic and lead others, you know, to achieve a common goal. So internally, we try to talk about that a lot.
Great answer. And for anyone who hasn't read Grit by Angela Duckworth, I would definitely recommend it to piggyback on what Matt was saying. And Dr. Song?
So I think, given I'm probably the latest starter of this group, I practiced for over 20 years before I, quote, became an entrepreneur. I think it's a process that I realized that you shouldn't be afraid to ask, that the relationships that you build in one way or another throughout your life, there are going to be people that will be able to give insights and things that can really help you avoid mistakes that perhaps they've made in their own lives. So I think pretending to know everything doesn't serve you well, and I think to not be afraid to say you don't know everything and you're trying to get the best solutions.
Great answer. Some intellectual humility. And to stick with you, Dr. Song, in your experience, what has been the most effective methods for identifying new market opportunities and potential business ideas?
Well, again, as somebody who practiced for 20 years, and I was helping to advise other startups or biotech companies or even big pharmaceutical companies with regard to products, you start to see what's done right and what's done incorrectly, and also what's really missing. The pivotal moment for me was 13 years ago, I lost my own father to cancer, and I'm an oncologist by training. And I was so frustrated because of the way we were all trained to do things, and none of those things really could serve my father. So I really started to say we need to start thinking outside the box, going after new cutting-edge therapies, and then looking at people that were doing things that were really promising but didn't know how to articulate that or get that into the clinic. So I think within the healthcare industry and the pharmaceutical industry, there are a lot of positives, but then there are a lot of companies that have great inventions or promising things that never make it to the clinic because of poor execution or not understanding the right way to bring it to the clinic. So I think just from all the observations, it's helped try to prevent me from making those types of mistakes.
Wonderful insight. Thank you. Matt?
Yeah, I think you have to be honest with yourself and your company about product market fit to see if what you have is actually needed in the world. We keep things simple. Is there a problem that's being solved for? Do you have a product or solution that solves that problem? Is there a market for it, and how do you make money? If you can't answer those four things, maybe choose a different path or find another opportunity for another asset to bring to market if you want to choose this path. But when those things click, which we're fortunate enough that they are clicking, that's when you run fast.
Great answer. Bonding the problem. Andreas?
Well, I think the world, we are lucky to be living in a world that is full of opportunities, right? I mean, the speed of information, the extent of information networks is such where you're always exposed to, knowledge and opportunities that could unlock a big opportunity for the world and a big opportunity for one personally. I think the key trait to be able to recognize them is to be open. Openness, I think, is number one. So if you put yourself in a state where you can actually be open, then your character will probably self-select for the things that you were passionate about and good at and could contribute in, and that creates, I think, the opportunity. At least for me, that was like in both ventures I started, that was like the key ingredient. I found myself in a space where I could be really open and just allow something else, something to come in and invade and become like the demon.
Great answer. And Deepak?
Yeah, for me, the biggest source of identifying opportunities has been investing the time and the patience to listen to your customers and to listen to what even your own employees are saying, right? To be able to spot the opportunity. Ultimately, as Saurabh mentioned as well, what drives the consumers is something that either saves or makes them money, or saves them time, or saves them risk. And to look at those opportunities and marry them with the problems that you can discover in your conversations with your customers, that could pretty much open the opportunity for your next venture. And that's really has been what has worked for me.